So
Yeah.
that's the kind of comedian I want, where I'm just like, I listen to them, and it's just like I feel like I could talk to them. Like I could be sitting in front of them, and if we can't talk the shit, it's just like, yeah, yeah. He actually mentioned that on one of his podcasts. He's like, if I can't talk shit with you, man, like, come on, there's gonna be a long fucking moment.
Yeah.
Nice, nice. Have you been looking for a specific place for your backgrounds?
No, these are ones that I've just been rendering. I was looking at what
Oh,
you've done, and
cool.
I'm like, okay,
No, no,
have
I
a look
didn't
at that,
render
and I
any of
think,
this.
no, no, no.
I
I'm
just
just
found this.
thinking, yeah, I've got the because to be honest, that kind of stuff up until now, you look at it and you go, okay, I got an idea of how it's done, but Jesus, the compute time to render that out properly is like,
Mm.
okay, if you're prepared to wait a week to get one picture rendered, you know,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
people
Speaking of
painting, that's one thing. Getting a computer to render it in terms of doing a
the
ray
layers,
traced. Well, it's the ray tracing, so it's doing proper lighting and everything, so all the shadows get done. It's not it, the thing about doing as a 3D model and a 3D render is it's three-dimensional. If it's different if doing a two-dimensional painting, and then somebody could draw that up in Illustrator or one of those digital art tools, because you still just it's just the screen is just the canvas. But
mm,
when it's suddenly in you got light traveling in from all the angles, it's got to calculate everything. It's just an immense task all of a sudden. But yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah. I'm pretty sure I found this artist on Instagram when I was just like looking at the different stuff, and he wrote in his post, he was like, "My daughter asked me to draw some mushrooms, and I kind of took it out of hand." He
yeah,
was like,
yeah,
"Might
yeah.
as well take some practice, have some fun and practice with it." And I really like the result. I'll have to make sure to check out the artist and start like every Saturday when when I hang out with Fumi, I change it up. So
Yeah, nice,
this
nice.
goes on for once a week, and I know that I'm on a couple streams, so I want to keep it like they can tell, like, oh yeah, things. It's not just the same all the time. Like I would see some people with like the same Aurora background for like months, and I'm like, come on. But
Yeah,
you can find something. And I could totally have a video background or some. I found this really cool video. It's like a 5, 7 second video, and
mm.
it just looks like a tunnel, like a industrial tunnel, like being
Yeah. You
made.
could do some.
Yeah, and black and white. And I was like, oh, so clean. Just black and white lines. I love it. I love the cleanness when you just do black on white paper or vice versa. It just looks so good. Just
And
that's me.
what I want to play around with is because you can do camera tracking in the software, so you can like film some stuff in the room, and then it will you can lay the image on, so when the camera moves, the texture follows them, stays on the model. Essentially, that's what the camera tracking allows you to do. It allows you to put 3D models in, and so it knows where they all are, and you can line everything up correctly, and the textures will follow properly. um, but it
Hmm.
means you can suddenly place things in 3D space that fits in the scene. You know what I mean? Because you can model everything out properly, and
Ah,
suddenly you can have this virtual background that actually looks creepily real. I mean, have you seen the ones they've got themselves coming up and like putting a cup of coffee down next to them? So you can overlay that video in and superimpose the way the cup of coffee would come down.
that's fucking cool.
So
How
yeah, it's some
far
really
away
trippy
do you think
stuff.
we are from like the holodeck, where it's like we go in a room and it's a completely gray white space, and then everything else is either projected from our thoughts, like we have something on, and
Mm-mm.
it's like an augmented reality, I should say, or it's an actual projection, or it's when we can't even tell. Like it looks as real can be. Maybe like a hard light. Yeah, that's counterintuitive, the term hard light, but
No, 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 no. I think I know what you mean. But what? It's amazing what the brain gets tricked with if you can expose it to it for just long enough. So if I said, when you first walk into the experience, you'd probably be like, yeah, this feels very artificial. And then 15 minutes in, once all of your senses have just been taken over by it, I think you would potentially struggle. The real world interaction in a holodeck, I think, physical things, that's a way off. But you've got those VR games that take place in big warehouses,
Yeah,
and all that happen. So it's more, I think,
sandbox
augmented reality.
is
AR is
the one you're talking.
kind of the holodeck concept, because you're going to wear the helmet and it just overlays it over everything that's in front of you. Wow, there's a mushroom with an arm on the screen, and that's all. The rest of you
Yeah,
disappeared.
yeah.
Because you put
I,
your
I
head
had
down
to
and it
hide.
couldn't
I had to
identify
hide
that
the
it was.
content because it's adult content. I had to go into the forest and then just come back real quick. I hid behind the mushroom and the wizards frolicking in the background. Yeah, yeah. Eagle was laughing because, gosh, Ganja Grower made this really dirty joke, and I was laughing to the point where it was hard to breathe, and I kept being not like I kept going back, and then I was just lost in the mushroom forest. He's like, "Well, we lost Raptor there for a moment, Ganja Grower. That was a good one." I won't repeat what was said because, gosh, I'm pretty sure you probably got into it. You probably noticed it, but
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
trying to remember what time it is, because this is the thing. I mean,
No, no, I won't repeat it. But yeah,
the
the
funny thing
whole
is, like, at the hour and a half that these shows happen, I mean, yeah, I'm always catching the tail end of it.
mm,
Um, and what is really interesting is to watch how cyclical some of the conversations are. I don't think people, because while you're in it, you don't notice it happening. And of course, everybody gets blazed out of their skulls and doesn't remember. I mean, the joke is, yeah, I believe it's affecting something, but I can't remember what it is now. um,
yeah, yeah. It's
but
funny that always happens with Koji. I just bring it up, thinking that Fumador remembers everything. He's like, "Can you give me a reminder on that?" And maybe he's just trying to like,
hmm,
for all the new viewers, be like, "Oh yeah, I kind of repeat it, so that and everything." But I get what you're saying. When I hear like about was it the stoned ape hypothesis?
mhm.
Whenever Rogan brings it up, I'm like, okay, yeah, I already know this. I actually learned that in like early college. Actually, might have been like um, late high school that I learned about that hypothesis. And it's a fucking hypothesis, people. It's not a theory. Nothing's proven. And I don't know
Yeah.
how we can prove that. I don't fucking know how we can prove that. That being said, it's an interesting topic to bring up. Just the fact that I don't think it was the changing factor. It was one of the changing
Oh,
factors, like just getting meat tools to cut everything so we
mm.
can and preservation of food in itself, like fermentation and salting. So I think a lot of those things had to do with our evolution, but that's just my thoughts. But yeah, for sure, I entirely think that psychedelics had a
Oh, yeah.
major role to play. Not that I'm trying to downplay it. I'm just saying, you kind of should include that other stuff too, so that
Mm.
it makes more sense to the people that are outside
But
of our
it's the
of this.
it's which bit of, so where psychedelics came into play was in like the development of
Yeah, early
language.
development. Yeah, like would
That's,
language have happened if that wasn't around
yeah,
to real as a
slower though.
key?
Slower,
Yes, that's a good point.
definitely.
I think it
Yeah, that I think
accelerated
that
things out of necessity, out of
yeah,
just like, oh, I have to express myself, and then I like the fact.
and it brought certain advantages to it. And
Mhm.
what you suddenly discover is, okay, because you've got to really take your mind back into put yourself in the shoes
Yeah.
of
Ooga booga.
early fucking man. I mean, in terms of monkeys aren't us, we aren't monkeys. We are very similar. We come from a common. There's a common point that we both
Yeah,
branched away
yeah.
from. There, that's and it's the path that we went. I mean, monkeys prefer to go for psychedelic mushrooms. They like the experience. Now, it gives them something. Now, what you might find is when they're eating the psychedelic mushrooms, because all the colors pop, suddenly they can see, all right, and I can find the berries I like a little bit easier. So they make quite a quick connection that if I eat that shit, I can find the other shit I really like too. So I'm always on the lookout for that one. And then that monkey troop that's eating that is surviving better than the ones who aren't eating the mushrooms. So they all
Mm.
died. So you get this lot. And of course, occasionally one of the monkeys gets one too many mushrooms and giggling its ass off and wants to explain why, woo, why is this so funny,
Yeah.
waving this
And
shit around.
not just those experiences, but also like the higher libido, like that
Yeah,
that
and
they
then
would
when
have
it branch out and
experienced.
we get into the human side of things, then you get into, so you look at the evolution of human society from hunter-gatherer partnership, where you have this initial stage where we're very equal. I mean, and back, you look back then, men and women in terms of what they were doing, it's very much a partnership society, but men are hunters, women are gatherers. Men have an advantage in terms of quite a few of them are colorblind, so they can spot shit easier, but then also eating mushrooms makes you spot shit easier as well. You can see the patterns all of a sudden, stuff starts to pop for you.
Yeah.
And again, I really want to communicate, but men didn't do the language development. That was women. And again, eating the mushrooms, eating psychedelics. And it's certainly a leveler. I mean, you want to sort your shit out. Two of you sit down and have a heavy trip and then go, all right, do you still need to sort your shit out? Or you're
Yeah, I would
both
much rather have
okay
my
with,
leaders sit down with and have a couple ayahuasca sessions and then see what they have to say after coming out of it.
mm,
Somebody, I think it was Hancock, that was saying like, "Oh yeah, each leader that wants to go up for like the top position, 12 ayahuasca sessions minimum, minimum, and
yeah.
then we can talk." And then we can talk about let's see what you got, what kind of ideas. Let's see if you're the same piece of shit that came into it.
Mm. I mean, that's
Because
the
I don't think
interesting.
I would be ripped apart and put together at least 12 times, at
Yeah.
least. But that was my first experience. I was fully ripped apart at my psyche, like how I felt, and then just put
Mm.
together and some like, oh, you think you're so smart and great? No, no, no. We're gonna fucking put you in your place, and we're gonna give you a lesson on top of it.
Mm.
So yeah, yeah, I think it's important, but it can also like
They should definitely
destroy.
have to experience ego death at least once or twice through
Yeah, a
psychedelics.
couple times for
That's
sure.
definitely and then smoke a good bowl, because actually when you look at what's interesting about, I think, the
The lack of
cannabis high
compassion alone.
is all the others are like, psychedelics are quite, what's the word I'm looking for? Okay, so MDMA for men it's a gentrification for men. It kind of put empathy, feeling, touchy, talk about stuff, be a chick for 8 hours, whatever the fuck. Do you know what I mean? And where and all of them have this kind of thing that's a little artificial that gets thrown in. The feeling that you have is still a bit artificial in that regard. Even it's a heightened sense of artificialness. I mean, the trip is psychedelic; it's the same whole thing.
Yeah.
But what I tend to find on like what you find with weed is kind of consistent, and it's a
It's
balance.
natural, endogenous. It's
Yeah, it's
like
like a real balanced sort of feeling in terms of, I
well,
don't know how to describe it.
your endocannabinoid system. That's
Mm.
we have cannabinoids flowing through us at all times, regardless of whether we ingest or use
Everybody
cannabis at
gets
all.
chilled out on weed, and it doesn't have this long weird effect to it either. Yeah, the thought I had earlier was far deeper than what I was trying to describe it. Damn this cannabis, allegedly.
How's it going,
Yeah.
Smash?
Hey, Smashed.
He's still setting up. Take your time, man.
No, I just hit the
Yeah.
wrong button. My bad.
Oh,
What's
okay,
up?
gotcha.
How you guys doing?
Yeah,
Good.
no, all good,
Just
man. All good.
talking about leaders needing to get their shit together with certain substances.
Dude, I've been thinking about
Everybody's
going
smoking.
to Michigan because they're
What
passing
about Michigan?
they're going to be passing the new bill for psychedelics like mushrooms and
Well, that's Ann Arbor.
yeah,
That's Ann
well,
Arbor,
Ann
not
Arbor
Michigan. It's yeah.
specifically.
Just for people that are in different places can understand a little better. Ann Arbor is a city within Michigan, and they've actually done a lot of progressive uh, laws
Or as the rest of the
that
world is looking at it right now, what were those zones called again in Hunger Games? Which one are you guys fitting? Which part of the zone does this fit into?
yeah, it's definitely interesting to see the progression coming along, even with all of the laws being enacted,
Mm,
with everything still being shut down. Like now people have a whole different perspective. Like, hey, we're stuck inside basically for a lot of people. Even if you're working, like even if you have to go out, you have to come back in. And even if you're working out, you still have to have protective measures, whatever those may be. So it's a whole different um, work environment,
yeah.
or just living
Oh,
environment in general.
yeah. Again, that's this thing about all of this that's going on. I'm like, I still say, one door got closed already, big door got closed, but so many thousands of other doors got opened up. And I just really want people to start figuring out how to exploit it. It's like, I can see thousands of ideas and it's just like, come on. And
But they're
you,
mostly in a panic. It
all this,
it's
it just
it's
goes to
sad.
show that definitely supports Joe Rogan's comment about these people are elected out of a popularity contest, not out of a
Hmm.
competency. Because wouldn't
None
it
of them
be
knew what to do.
great? I mean, considering this isn't a one country phenomenon. I mean, that's what's really interesting about what we're going through. It's a global phenomenon that we're all suffering from. So all economies are being clobbered the same way. Now, yes, countries like Vietnam have done incredibly well in these ones, but they are local economies that at some point, if the
Exactly.
global economy can't figure out a new way of adjusting itself, well, great, you'll just be dealing in your local economy and it'll never go beyond there. The world debt problem is an easy one to solve. It's just move the decimal back a few places. It really, I mean, all the money we actually play around with is just virtual shit anyway.
Yeah,
It,
and
it
it doesn't go to the majority of us. It goes
well, it
to
doesn't even
a
fucking
Dude,
minority.
exist. I mean,
our
if you look at
Yeah,
our
what
there you go.
debt,
There you
we're
if
go.
you
one of
look
the
at what the
only
stock
countries that
market,
doesn't pay our debt.
the stock market tanked and then went straight back up again. Now it did that, and you're saying, but hold on, half the country, for argument's sake, is unemployed. There
Mhm.
is this looming. If you think the 2008 um, housing crash through bad debt on um, bad loans, which what essentially it was insurance on credit that was rated as AAA loans, and they weren't.
Basically,
They were,
fraud on fraud. Yeah,
yeah, it was quite interesting. I mean, it was really clever and interesting. The guy that
just
spotted this,
dirty.
what was coming. Well,
Yeah.
the guy that spotted what was
Well,
coming
I mean, it was legal, but I'm saying it was a
and he
dirty,
could have run it
result.
for a lot more than he did. I mean, they actually put the brakes on. They went, okay, whoa. And if they really wanted to, they cashed everything and it would have just crippled it completely. I mean, it would have wiped it out entirely. But at the same time, so you've got this whole big thing going on. You just say, well, hang on, you've got to readjust and just change the way the economy works. I mean, it really has to be a global adjustment. And so the stuff all plummeted, it bounces back up. Knowing full well what's coming down the line, none of that shit can be worth that much. So that entire increase in stock value is just speculative wealth. And that's all that your investment in the stock market ever is. That's, you have to understand it's buying into the future value of something, not into its current value. You're buying into the future value. And that's what can go up and down. That future value is 1 second after you paid for it. Yeah, it's in the future, unfortunately. So, you know, it's like, where is all of this coming from? The economy isn't there. We're at least we're all being told the economy isn't there to do it. But if the economy is, if these indicators are as high as they were, and things are therefore doing as well as they were, if not better, there's plenty of money to support this.
Exactly.
You know, and just change the fact that we don't do it with money anymore. I don't know. Figure out something else. Turn every office into a farm. Get back to local, and then train everybody how to farm in new modern ways. If we want to
Every
populate the
building
stars, you better know how
should
to
have
fucking farm.
plants. Every building should have a greenhouse attached to it, and we should be supplementing heat, the oxygen, so we're not breathing in all that bullshit all the time. I'm sure that would help out with a lot of sicknesses from just not breathing a bunch of the same. I mean, it would still technically be recycled, but not like how it is with HVAC systems, where you're literally just breathing in the same air. At least this way, it's being processed through plants, which is how fucking it works in general. And maybe include even more filtration plants that would work even better. And
I feel
think
like it going
about,
through a plant, like metabolically going through a plant, it's definitely going to get a lot cleaner than going through a HEPA filter.
yeah,
But
and
then you
have
don't want to
both,
consume the
and have
plant.
both for those for those people that have
Yeah.
allergies.
It all depends what you're using. That, if you're going to
Yeah,
have
it
filter
depends.
plants, you trash the filter plants. Don't consume your filter plants. You.
No. Have maybe even then that's another thing. Have two greenhouses. Have like a filtering a greenhouse area and a food area.
Yeah,
Nice
you
Is that
get
little
your
different
auto?
plants
Is that your
to
auto?
filter. Yeah, it's actually getting close to being done. I just did this
It
one.
It's a
looks
very
close.
quaint little auto.
Yeah.
I just started
Are you
this
gonna grow
one.
another one so you have one for Christmas? That'd be
Yeah,
cool.
this one's
Yeah,
going to be my
nice.
Christmas one.
Oh, okay.
So I started to
Is that
bend the stem and stuff this time.
Okay. Is it an auto
it's
as
cool.
well?
Yeah. It seems
Oh,
like it's easier to do with autos because I don't have to flip the light and I can put them anywhere in the house.
okay.
Little collection of bonsai autos.
Yeah, it's fun. I've been wanting to get into bonsaiing cannabis myself so that
I didn't
it's
bend
just a
this one.
faster training method than if I was to just do a tree. I also want to do trees like apple trees and citruses for bonsai. And
It'd be
I
cool.
also have some pomegranate that I want to work with. So yeah, you should look into it, Smash. I'm sure you could find just buy an apple, and it doesn't have to be. It could be any seed, and you just plant that, and that's what you just play around with and practice
Chilies
with.
are really good
There
for
you go.
making bonsais with, and you can take cuts from them
They
really
grow
quickly and
fast too.
easily. And the nice thing is they produce some of the most amazing crops off these little bonsai chilies. It's really cool. Let me see if I can. Let me
The
Google that
Chinese
for you.
pep.
I like
Yeah.
good, Raptor. I was gonna say I like what Light Addict does with
Yeah,
that
Yeah, Light
crazy
Addict is good.
twisting and shit.
I
yeah,
liked his Death Star. His Death
that's
Star
incredible.
shape.
His Snoop piece was pretty crazy too.
Yeah,
7 strains, one stalk.
yep.
Oh wow. I
And they're
hope he
all
sent that to
flowered.
Snoop.
Yeah, and they're all flowered at different times. I mean, he said that was the challenge. These things all flower at different rates, so you got to try and figure out how do I get them to
Yeah.
all,
What's the middle? Yeah,
because it's
what's the middle
all
and
different
beginning and end?
colors. It's like Jesus, dude. Um, but yeah, yes, bonsai chilies, and I mean
Oh
that's
wow, that
that's
looks
a
cool.
fair amount of fruit. And
Yeah,
Did
check that out,
they
gnarly.
combine
No,
a couple plants together and they okay, this is just one that they
just
worked
one.
on
And you
and
can
they made
keep
it
it
thick.
going and going and going. Yeah. So like what they've done on this one is they've
That looks
taken it out
nice.
the ground. So if you've been growing them outside, so I've got one out
Uh,
growing outside that's at least, if not bigger than that, actually, the stalk. And if during the summer you start to uncover the roots so that they go hard and gnarly, the upper layer of roots, and then come the winter time, you can cut them out and cut like the root bore out as well. Cut the whole top of it. You can see how it's been cut flat. This one on the right here, this you can see it's been cut off there. This is quite a big bunch. And then you just put it in and under 24-hour lighting. like we
All
do
the time?
with cuttings. Yeah, and the roots will get going again, and it'll start to re-veg itself. You leave a little bit of the vegetation on.
Oh, in the beginning.
And
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
then it gets itself going, and yeah, I mean, you can come up with these incredible.
I've been seeing people grow big ass cannabis plants that have been hardening, like they harden their roots, the top roots a little bit. They'll wrap it around a fucking.
So yeah, and this
rock.
guy Fitili, I mean, we're looking at his. He does a book on. I think he's actually got a book on it.
Damn, look at that little sake cup one. Damn, that's cool.
They've got some really, and you can do it with any chili.
Of course, yeah.
So yeah, works really simple, and it's a good way of actually being overwintering them. So you bring them in, and that way, because it really does help in the next year's crop. Richard, looking at that, I'd say that was only probably about 2 or 3 years old, that chili. I mean, the one I've got, which I was growing indoors before it went out into the greenhouse, the stalk on that's thicker than my thumb, and it's only what 2 feet tall. It's like got stunted because I kept in a little pot for ages and ages indoors, and I had fresh chilies in February. You know, in the middle of winter, because it's like, yeah, it's not a photo period flower.
Those fucking yields.
Yeah, it's not a
Like,
short
they
day
keep doing.
flower. Yeah, I'm still this whole bush of them sitting out in the greenhouse still. In fact, Fumi was talking about jalapenos. You know, 1 in 4 is the hot one. Well, they've reached the maturity stage now where everyone I take off there's no just pick one up and just pop it in your mouth knowing that it's going to be fine. Now it's like, nah.
Well, that's even though we know.
That's a bit brave.
Even though we know that they pick them early, we just automatically assume like, oh, this is the best. Like when we get it from the grocery store, it's like, no, it's never the best. The best is when you go to the fucking farmer and you say, and you ask them, hey, I'll buy a crate off of you if you leave them on the stalk for a little bit, and I'll come pick them up. So you don't have to do anything.
After.
Yeah, and you can. Yep, sorry, go for it.
Okay, so you know how like they do the root hardening for the bonsais and stuff. You think it makes it a stronger plant?
No, it's purely for ornamental purposes. All it's there to do is it's trying to mimic the fact that, you know, in a big tree, you've got the big roots that tend to come up out of the ground and over the rocks and all of that. So when you first create it, you're just hardening it off so they can stay exposed. So when you take them and put the plant down on top of the rocks and you're setting the scene for it, the diorama of the whole thing. You don't want to have fresh roots at that point being exposed to intense 24-hour light. You know, you're kind of hard. So that's why they'll sweep them away over time just to increase it. You don't want to shock that piece, but it's purely for the artistic. It's nothing but visual.
Because I was saying like I do see people, some people, not many, but some people do it with the crystals and the cannabis.
And now you see, I will be divisive on this, and I will quite happily stand my corner on it. But you know, being a man of science, okay, the crystal thing is an interesting one, and what I would say being the best approach you can actually take with your crystals is to crush them up into as fine a powder as you can, and essentially make mineral salt feed.
Well,
put
look at
that
quartz.
in the ground and go
quartz
with.
Is really good for providing minerals. That's actually something that Clackamas Coop brought up for the East Coasters.
Yeah, but it has to be crushed. I mean, you can't put in a whole big chunk of quartz unless you prepare. Your plant's life cycle is what?
1,000 years.
Yeah, your plant's life cycle is 12 months max. You know, if you're like a real tropical sativa, and that quartz is going to see the sun burn out. You know, so the small amount of nutrient you may be getting out of it. I think it's that thing about anecdotal evidence leading to what eventually becomes the science piece. The anecdotal evidence of if you eat that bark, all the chicks in that village that eat that bark, we can bang them like crazy and none of them get pregnant. Okay, so at some point they realize that bark's got something that stops you getting pregnant, and we get birth control tablets. Very early birth control was sort of derived from that. Same with headache tablets. And so at some point, you got to say, well, okay, was this what they're seeing is being the evidence of, I put these crystals in, it has an effect. Okay, is it because of the chemical compound of the crystals you're putting in there, not to do with energy waves and things like that? The catch with this, of course, is going to be you have to be able to therefore scientifically test it in extremely accurate conditions, because your subjective view on it, is that correct? Yes, your subjective viewpoint is flawed. It's biased. Mine is being, I think it's a crock of shit, for argument's sake, against the person who's biased to it's the most wonderful thing, and my God, every time I use it, it's incredible. Until you say, well, do you realize that wasn't in there, and you're saying it's incredible, and I'm going, oh, no way did it make a difference. Well, actually, the one that's 10 feet tall, that's the one that had it in. So you need to have the true scientific test done on that, and remove that bias. Now, I understand people go, oh, but there's energy in quartz and whatnot, and that's why you use it. Quartz, if you apply pressure to it or a low current across it, you can get it to vibrate, and it can pick up on. So remember quartz crystal radios? I don't know if you ever make them as a kid. No? You're muted, Raptor.
Sorry. No, but I am familiar. I think they use quartz in like really high-end watches.
No, not really high-end. I mean, that's what allowed for battery-operated watches to come
There we
about.
go. Sorry. Yeah, no, I was thinking in the past that it was a newer thing that they used. And sorry. It's used in actual technology nowadays. Like,
but the early days,
thing,
it was that step that allowed us to have battery-powered watches, because how did you to get rid of the winding on the watch is all to do with the balance wheel that spins X number of times. Now, how do you emote it to spin? That's a bit tricky. So what they use is a quartz crystal that vibrates at a precise number of vibrations per second, and therefore they just literally, it bumps it along that many vibrations, however it works. And so you've got perfect timer. It's X vibrations per second. That's how it works. And that's how it keeps time.
So that would be an actual application.
And that's what it's used for. Yeah. So that's why people, the energy of quartz. But
we can see where that comes from. We're like, okay, it's used in this, and it does use this frequency. So I can see why people might think of it, but I agree with you. There's no conclusion yet. There's no
frequency. You know what I mean? Like do you believe that the Earth has a frequency?
Yeah, everything does. I mean, it's not that's not a we're electronic. We operate at a certain frequency.
Because that's the one thing I do believe, that there is like a electromagnetic field around the Earth and everything living. Just a small one. But like nothing.
That's
scientific fact.
That's a scientific fact, not a belief.
You produce like about 5 volts of electricity constantly. I mean, your brain is sitting in a flesh jar that is pumped with nothing but electrical impulses.
Yeah.
You could
There's a reason we need electrolytes
in a jar. Literally.
But I can't get it out.
That's the one. Try prayer. Yeah,
do you think
gross. I like that.
Frequency would go to hertz? Like, did they say that the average on the Earth is like 7.8 hertz for frequency?
Oh,
you think it's just a electromagnetic field that brings off an average of a frequency?
Hum.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
it's on the go all the time. And what's really interesting is when you get a power blackout, which is very different to everybody turning off all their stuff. The second that power blackout goes, you notice how quiet. I mean, like it's eerie
Dead
quiet.
quiet,
when
yeah.
all that electrical equipment just shuts down. All that background frequency noise, all that hurts just. But yeah, no, I mean, we definitely operate at a type of we do have a natural frequency that we run at. And some people say that explains what ghosts are, or the multi-universe existence is at slightly different frequencies that occasionally drift into vibrate at the same frequency and will occupy the same space at the same time. But otherwise, the multi-universe is not in different locations. It's all here. It's not like, okay, I would get really fucking weird. Is all you have to do is none of the universes are allowed to operate within the same space at the same time. So long as we keep up our unique vibrations, our unique frequencies, we will never overlap and be in the same place at the same time.
Because space is being taken up and they can't take up that space.
It's a finite space with an infinite number of universes existing
So
within
cool.
it.
I do, dude. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I do believe in spirits and all that shit. Like, I do. I definitely believe in spirits. Like, I never used to until I had an experience. And after that experience, I do believe that there's something out there still.
I mean, there's something to walking around outside and putting your bare feet in the ground. And I mean, again, it's more I guess possibly more the science and the spiritual aspect to it, where, as I said, we're electrically charged things. And when you put your bare feet in the ground, you earth yourself. You literally earth yourself.
You tap into that frequency. Like, it's a little.
Well, it's just more like you kind of like dump charge. That's why you don't want to be the earthing point when a lightning strikes. I mean, because it's all ripping through you. But
you don't want to be the Instagram model holding up their GoPro. Look
flying
at the
kites in the thunderstorm. Look at me. But yeah, you can feel it. You certainly can feel it. But that's where I was going with this. Don't remember.
No, we were talking about grounding, and we were talking about frequencies before that.
So there is something to it. It's just in the realm of spirituality and stuff like that. I'm more like, let's just go.
It's just there's so much unknown, and it until we have more data and the ability to observe that data. Think of how I can't even imagine all the stuff we can't observe yet, just because we don't have the tools yet. Hasn't been made, or it's being made right now. It might not be made for another 10 years, but the person exists.
We don't even have flying cars yet. They thought that would be a thing. That's coming up very soon.
Yeah,
flying personal.
I'm glad. I'm glad we don't.
I think they need to invent the right propulsion system for that, because
now it's going to be drones. It's just going to be drone motors and stuff.
Too noisy. The electric cars at least are quiet. Do you know how noisy it will be with drones flying around? Do you know how many fingers are going to go missing? That's just going to be absolute carnage.
You see the jetpacks, but the jetpacks they're going to be loud too, like the personal jetpacks and stuff. So I don't know.
Oh, people in jetpacks going through helicopter blades.
Well, how loud is
ladies and gentlemen,
be aware of pink mist. How loud is a helicopter? How loud is a jet engine? Going
How
on?
loud is a jet engine going through a helicopter?
But yeah, those things are pretty loud as well. So, and it would be nice if we had designated, like a lot of laws and policies are going to have to be implemented before anything is like fully put out to the public.
I don't know. I wonder how far away we are from like a family sedan. I know. Well, I think Elon is trying to go down instead of up.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
his S model is going for $69,420.
Oh, dude, he just let a new one out that has like 500 miles and range, a little over 500, which is good, but it's a little over 100,000.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I like
He's
their cars, I do.
Because the nice thing about the tubes, of course, is they're super efficient to run because you put the vehicles in one end and you just create a vacuum at the other end, and then it
yeah,
just shoots you down that tube at awesome speed. Yeah. Tell you what, you hit the other end really hard as well because there's no friction thanks to the vacuum. You
yeah.
get
I
it to
think
some
mail
impressive
tubes.
speeds.
Man, I used to wash the mail tubes all the time. Like as when I would go into Costco, I don't know how I noticed it as a kid one day. I think I saw it being somebody picking one of the uh, containers up, and I was just
Mm,
like, "What the fuck?" And then I would always watch them go through everything,
they
and
are
yeah, I
impressive.
was just impressed. Yeah, before emails and like instead of running back and forth, that's pretty impressive. And
Analog email, yeah.
yeah,
You don't want to
yeah,
get hit with
you're a
spam.
shit.
It's literal spam in a
Yeah,
can. Oh, there's
yeah.
spam all over the tubes.
Well, that goes into the whole Jetsons. That's literally how they travel, like in like people. So
My
like
Yeah,
I
bank
or
don't get
has
how they like
that.
Futurama.
stopped. Like all
You
of a
get
sudden,
it.
like, oh, it was nice and slow. I was like, I don't know if that's how it works.
When I was a little kid, I would
Futurama.
got impressed too, bro. I used to go
Oh,
to the bank
Futurama
with my
too. Yeah,
dad. Futurama, every person goes through them and everything. I love
yeah.
it. Um, but just like you, I don't know why it amazed me, but it
Actually,
did.
I'm
When
gonna
I
go and
used to
grab
go
a
to the
cider.
bank,
I
I
can't
had to
drink more
press the
tequila.
button when I was a kid. I was like, it was just so cool. I'm gonna take this dab real quick. Some Primal
Uh,
Punch flower rosin from Purple Thumb
nice,
OG. It's so good, man. It really is.
nice. Shout out Purple Thumb OG. Been giving him some tips myself.
Dude,
Yeah, yeah. He's a cool guy.
he's an
Chris.
awesome guy.
Yeah, yeah. I would love to talk to him. It's if you're listening, Purple. I'm sure we can hook you up with just talking. It doesn't even have to be on live either, but if you want to jump on live with us, just do if you want to keep yourself private, do a GMF and Sure Bros does. Just we all got masks, man. We
You
all got
really
masks
wanted
now.
my
Yeah, damn it. In fact, I'm disgusted. Nobody's wearing masks. This is a mask only zone. You're not wearing a mask because you think it's a hoax, don't
Those fucking
you?
people. What really gets me is
I'll
when
just
they
pull
have
that
the
pin
mask
and
on, but not the nose. They're not fucking covering the nose. I'm like,
or they have a
pick
crochet.
one.
I mean, my
Pick
daughter
one.
made crochet masks, but they're lined
Yeah.
on the inside. They're not like an open,
No,
net
no, yeah, yeah,
crochet
exactly. It's a
mask.
cover. It's a nice little decorative cover, which I mean, that's cool. If at first I saw women like customizing it, and I was like, whatever. I mean, that's not for me. But then I started thinking about it. It's like, oh,
I'm
well,
looking
this
for
is
a
gonna happen
cannabis
for a
one.
while.
I just like the
Yeah,
idea
yeah,
of wearing the lower half of somebody else's face. Because you know how that's,
yeah,
I mean, literally, I don't, the whole mask wearing thing. What I don't get is, look, I see what if any of the conspiracy crew out there. I mean, this is the perfect time to go. Wow, the government is telling us to wear masks so they can't identify us anymore. Fan fucking tastic. I mean, think about
yeah,
it
yeah.
that way.
I was
It's government
shopping.
mandated that we don't want to be able to identify you anymore. Whereas previously, if you put your mask up, they would go, "Oi, come over here. What are you bloody doing?"
Yeah, I
Now
was
it's like you pull your
shopping at
mask down.
Target.
It's like,
Yeah, yeah, I was shopping at Target, and I saw these security cameras. I'm like, fuck. Like I could just change my clothes and put on a new mask and put on a hat, and that's it. I got all my hair covered and everything. Put on a beanie. That'll
yeah.
that'll for sure cover everything.
And with
Uh,
those prints or those mask prints, but as I say, you just
mm,
drop the lower half is somebody else, some random's face. I mean, it really struggles to tell that apart all of a sudden. Get it nicely
Mhm.
color matched.
You know what I was I can't remember what I was watching. It was pretty interesting. But they were talking about how how China has a lot of they're watching their society much closer, their citizens,
Mm,
and they're basically giving them a point system and all that. What the protesters are doing is they're actually like putting on there's people that are making designs in like makeup and like certain masks
mm.
that distort the camera's view and
Yeah, it's
helps to like stop them from identifying.
I'm
I'm
trying to remember
butchering
the
it, but
name of
that's
the.
the broad thought of it
Yeah,
all.
there's um because the trick with facial recognition is to
Facial
break
recognition,
up
yeah. Thank you.
its ability to identify bits of the face
Hmm.
and to map it.
Exactly.
So you use
Yeah, they
like
would have these
really
patterns like
contrasting
the
lines
makeup.
that that come in from your face at all weird
Mhm.
angles. So when it
Yeah,
looks at it, it can't piece
yeah. They
together.
think it's an object instead of a person
Mm, mm, mm.
because
Uh,
it's told only to look for these features.
yeah,
These features are only human. I don't see them anywhere else. I mean, chimps, I get the shape of like the head, but we have a whole different like facial structure. It like we get the shape of the head, but once you get into the structure of the face, it's much
and
different.
yeah, and I mean I'll show some examples. It's actually relatively simple because oddly enough, the machine isn't that difficult to fool. It's quite. I mean, well, it's getting better and better, but it's quite. And you can almost see
Yeah, cool.
why it throws off facial recognition because it messes with the lines and the contrast of the face. It can't put the features together, you know.
Uh-huh.
But at the same time, you get like that failed, that failed. Did that work? So it's also really good at still being able to spot you, and they get better um, at doing it.
Yeah. Well, with
But things like
each
this,
progression of the makeup, the technology to fight it gets better,
mm,
and vice versa. It's an arms race.
oh no, that's just a picture. That's not actually done. But yeah, that's
Mm.
makeup. This
Yeah, they
I've
were talking
seen
about
that
pictures
quite a
as
bit.
well.
Yeah, and you can see why that would mess with it and why that would mess with it. So if you've
Mm.
got an inspiring sort of impressions artist in the family, get them
Yeah.
to do your makeup.
Do you do Salvador Dali? Uh,
um,
that's that's not impressionist though. That's surreal.
surrealism,
That's
which is
yeah,
this
that's
one.
my personal favorite. Yeah,
That's
yeah, I'd be
definitely
down for that. That's fucking cool.
that's the Halloween makeup.
Yeah,
Yeah.
still, I mean, if that's anti AI recognition,
That
facial
would work.
recognition.
I bet you that would
Imagine
work.
imagine flipping your face the other one.
Mm.
She had her lips up here and lips down here. The camera wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah, yeah, but that's like I said, I think it was a might have been like 60 minutes I was watching on YouTube or something like that. It was
Hmm.
yeah. But
I want to
anyway,
play
I
with the
just thought it
deep
was
fake
interesting.
stuff. Yeah, I'd love to.
It
I
is.
already want to play around with some of that deep fake stuff.
Mm,
You could certainly have a world of fun with it.
yeah.
Mm,
Has anyone grown a lime pop cross?
No, I haven't.
no.
I had some seeds. It just they were sitting in my safe in purple. Really, that's why we ended up trading and stuff. That's how we ended up like trading seeds. He really wanted them, so we traded some teenage Jeff seeds for those ones. There was lemon GXB crossed with 86 lime pop, and supposedly it's a. He's like, I've been looking. I guess he was looking for lime pop, and I've never really heard of lime pop.
No. I got to sample some. But again, you see, now to me, good weed is weed that gets you stoned. I mean, okay,
Yeah.
look, I hate to say it is, and I
No,
got to
I'm
sample like
right
a
there with
range
you.
of other stuff, and I mean, like the names they were given it was blue lime pie and blue licorice something else, whatever. And I'm like, okay, unless this somehow tastes like lime pie, and like it's got to really taste like lime pie, don't call it fucking lime pie. You know?
Exactly.
That's what I
And-
think he's looking for.
And if it's going to be licorice, not that I really want to smoke licorice, but again, make sure it's like got that,
Yeah.
but it does. It all just tastes like freaking weed. Now, is that
Call it root
because
beer. Make sure it has like the sassafras in there and
Yeah.
like the spicy hints. You know, of like there's someone told
86
me that they had
lime
one
pop,
that smells like cola. I was like, fuck, that sounds really cool.
lemon
And then I think
soda isn't.
Res.
That's what
Uh-huh.
it. That's the real name. Lemon soda. 86 lime pop. Lemon soda is an indica
But then
strain.
do they actually? But you see, this is the again. We should have.
Lime,
I
green
like the
dot.
fact that things are just given like a numerical name up until the point where it's finalized, and
It's
then it
Z83.
until it
No.
has a proper name, and then it gets given a proper name. We've
Yeah,
got this
exactly.
carnage of names at the moment where people just come up with the most ridiculous shit, and it doesn't
That's how actual breeding works.
mean
And
anything.
You say 87
Sorry,
lime
getting
pop.
cross about it, but it's you know.
No, they have the name before they see anything.
Mm.
They're like, oh, I'm gonna get this. They don't even have the seed in mind, in their
I've
fucking
got to
hand.
cross this banana kush with something else and call it, banana crumble, but it doesn't smell like or taste like bananas or crumble. So why are you calling it banana crumble?
Like you need at
I
least
know what you're
one
saying.
harvest, and it cured in a jar for the right time before you even like think about a fucking name. It should just be the numbers mixed with
Durban.
letters or whatever.
Durban.
But it is an amazing plant that it
Citral,
lets
Dur-
you.
and then lime pop.
Hmm.
It says it like it has the pinene,
Well, that'll be the Durban.
and then the lime pop. It says it has some lemon smells. This is what this says. I don't know. I never played with it because I'm not a lime fan at all. And it's called
Yes,
called like
Ian,
the
sorry.
lemon lime series.
How dare we in arbitrarily name plants as humans? Exactly. And look what happened to the human race. Look at some of the names. I mean, there's some kids out there who are just cursing their fucking parents, going, "You bastards! Do you not know how tough school is already?" And then you name it this.
There's still people
shits.
naming their kids ISIS. ISIS. What?
Well,
I realize that's a god.
my brother's wife's name is Isis.
That's what. But is their new baby, ISIS
No.
Junior?
No.
I laugh when I hear the celebrity names for their kids. Apple. Fucking Apple. I've met a person named Sky, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I met a person named Guy.
Dolphinius. I mean, it's like, okay, this is getting weird, but fair enough. I mean, it is. It's like, did you people forget that you were once in a school playground? Do you remember what happened to the kid that had the weird name? I mean, I'm like, make it a middle name, but don't make it their first name.
One bad syllable can fuck you over till high school.
Yeah, Michael, Sky, something. I don't care. Bateman.
Yeah, you just don't say your middle name. Exactly. Give that crazy one.
Yeah.
Dude, my whole backyard is colors already. Leaves are already falling.
It's definitely, that season is definitely rolled in here.
No.
Sucks. I'm not a man for the cold winter weather. Not my time of year.
I gotta pull my plants out. Still got some outside. The girls that have seeds in them.
Sorry, I just read Ian's comment. Bruce, but his kid tastes nothing like an apple, and I'm not happy about it. Yeah, that Jackson.
It was Bruce Willis.
Anything like a blanket either, mate. I was also fucking really upset. Doesn't really wear particularly well like a blanket.
Elon's kid's name.
Yeah, it was the rocket.
They had a definition for it. Like if.
Oh, it's a quite when he explained. But see, like the weird thing is, when he explained how it actually went, it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That was the problem. It's like, okay, yeah, it makes sense. Okay, fine, but don't. you know, just change it back to something normal that's, you know, human readable at the end of the day. But it was quite what he did was, you know, yes, it's fairly smart, but it's too highbrow, you know. So again, the kid's gonna get the shit kicked out of him in the playground,
What's your
regardless
name?
of.
Oh man,
Just call
I,
yourself Axe.
it was pretty
Yeah.
cool. Once you seen it, it was like a shock factor. Like, oh wow, what is that? And then when they described it, you're like, oh shit, that's kind of cool.
But then his other half is pretty weird. I don't know much about her. I mean, I just know he's South African, so there's a certain, you know, camaraderie there.
Yeah, I mean,
wow, dude, you want to put people on Mars? That's taking it a bit far. Yeah. We know your heritage. We know the true plan.
So you want to colonize Mars?
Ooh.
Okay.
Yes. Oh,
What are
there'll
you
be
doing
Mars
after?
people.
So it's the whole underpants gnomes dilemma. So you know stage 1, you know stage 3. What's stage 2 into making this all livable? You're saying you want a population there? What kind of population?
We know that.
Don't worry about it. Just focus on stage 3. Stage 3 is fucking
Yeah,
awesome.
don't
We're
worry
on
about how we get
Mars.
there.
Yeah.
The end justifies the means. Yeah, remember that old saying, slavery gets shit done well. What we like to call it is colonizing get shit done.
Well, literally, the generations there will have to be workers. They will.
I mean,
They
there's some
will
cool
have to
books.
be technicians
I'm trying to
and
remember who the
workers
author
and
is.
movers.
I've got the books. I can go and grab one quickly. But
If you want,
they
yeah.
write. He writes these. Man, those
You can summarize it.
Massive operatic kind of space stories. You know, they're like 2,000 pages, 3 volumes of the damn thing. They're chunky reads. But it goes into like space colonies and, you know, sold the dream arriving, and it's like, yeah, mate, it rains like acid rain for 6 months. Don't go outside without this, and this on. But it'll be cool in like another 8 years when the habitat's finished. But yeah, the first people that go. And do we even have those kind of people around anymore? You know, that frontier generation. Do we?
I
do we
think
have
we
a frontier
do,
generation?
but it's just not a generation, but people.
I think there's
going to have to be a frontier.
There were people that stayed back in Ireland and the British Isles. You know, and there were people that left too.
Yeah, so I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at the comments.
Yeah, but you gotta be okay with maybe dying out there. You know, you're not probably not coming back.
Same thing with back then.
So the space is different.
There's people that go to
so
war.
much farther though. You like have, you know what I mean? It's kind of different in a sense, but in the same, it's not. It's like you could walk home if you were on Earth. You couldn't do that up there.
We were all on one continent, and then we expanded to the rest of the fucking Earth. So, I mean, at a point we were all on an island too, because then we got fucked over with a. At one point, we were the human race. I forget the number, but it was like down to a couple of thousand. Yeah. So, and they were all in one place, and we had to expand again. So this is just if we want to keep going, we have to keep expanding. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Did you see that video? I don't know. I mean, I can put the link up for it. But that one, the Museum of Alien Life. I mean, it's a really interesting view on like what would we find out there and where do we go? And then you know, at one point, what they show is where we are essentially along like the massive timeline that's ahead of us, and we're at what 3 billion years, and then it just goes on and goes on and goes on and goes. Well, what, you know, this is where we are at 3 billion years. What do you think happens at 30 billion years? You know, further down this timeline. I mean, they'll look back at us and just laugh and go, "What the hell?" You know, this natural evolution.
They'll be watching the archives. Like this fucking Operation Grey.
What are these fleshy things? I mean, what? you know, oh, look at that. Watch this one break its leg. You know? Yeah, they'll be pissing themselves. Like, look, you can shoot it in the
Look,
head
they
and
need
it
organs to
dies.
see.
Oh my God,
Barbarians.
30% THC. Those guys. Oh, shame, man. Wheat today is so much stronger than it is back then at 99% on the plant. You know, all you do is grow a crystal. You know, that's all it is.
No, they just think about it, and then the crystal forms.
The new number, allegedly, the new number for THC content's 42, Pete.
Bollocks. Absolute bullshit. Sorry,
Well,
I
maybe if
struggle
they
on
did-
that one.
Maybe
That
if
means
it's the
42% of what you gave them was THC. I mean, so if I gave you, you know, if I gave you a gram of bud, essentially half a gram of that's THC. Like,
Well, first off, Pete, is it
I
possible?
don't think so.
Is it possible to, and how high can it be taken?
What's the ratio you're talking about? Oh, look, I mean, in extract, the ratio will be 100%.
No,
I give
it
you
was a
100%.
flower.
So if it's all flour, all right, now you've just got to, okay, just, you know, take the maths into, unless it's putting out monster trichomes, and then at the same time, those trichomes are going to be only THC and nothing else. Because remember, if you're talking about the percentage of what I gave you, you've got to take that plant material into account, of which that makes up quite a big chunk of it. The actual THC is a really tiny portion of the 42% of the weight was THC.
You think it was 42% THC and cannabinoids, and they just gave you the 42?
Oh.
No, I mean, it would be of the cannabinoids, 42% of it was THC, which is a different. You see, this is the point about what is the percentage of what.
What's the test?
So just a number doesn't
Yes,
mean
yeah.
jack shit. I mean, I can
Yeah.
give you any, like it tested 100%, but yeah, because I just tested the THC extract and I got 100%. Yeah, well, okay, great. But if I went, okay, I shaved all the trichomes off and I got none of the plant material and I did a chromatography extraction and everything that came off, so I'm not getting any of the actual material, and I looked at that small component and said, okay, so of all of those that came off, 42%, whatever the number happens to be, was THC, sure, but not, it was 42% THC. That's a very different statement. And that's just, it's just qualifying it. And then, you know, it's that whole thing again about why I think a number of these terminologies and phrases, F1, F2, F3, you know, to use those as common parlance ones, they've been used and heard, they've been used by people who thought everybody knew the context in which they were being used. They've been picked up, now used just fractionally out of context. Not badly enough that it's grossly wrong, but just enough that it starts to get confusing when you bring two sides together, where one side understands it as being very strictly this, and the other side is a little bit looser on the definition. Yeah. So, you know, so when it comes to measuring the THC, we say, well, okay, if it's 42%, but was that of plant weight given? Because then literally when you look at it, half of what you're looking at nearly is THC. You'd see it. You're like, do you know what I mean?
It's a good point. I mean, what are you measuring? What are your metrics? What's your test? These are all things that should be asked first before, like, oh, 42. You know,
Yeah.
before like getting a reaction from a result, before even getting a result.
I mean, so if you actually look at how you mix up like e-liquids with the nicotine and stuff like that, remember you're bringing it up to, let's say, 100 milliliters. So when you're trying to do the nicotine dilution, it's 100 milliliters and I'm adding nicotine to it. You got to remember, hang on, I'm adding 3 mils of nicotine to bring it up to 100 mils, which means that it's 97 mils that I'm working with. So I've got to, you know, you got to kind of, and then if I want it to be 3% strength, it isn't actually 3 mils I need. Do you know what I mean? There's this whole weird, because it's 72%.
It's ratios. You have to work within the ratios.
The nicotine juice is only 70. So yeah, exactly. And it's just understanding what the ratio is and what they were precisely measuring. And then it all makes sense. And you find, oh, okay, it's 22%. Okay, fine. Yeah. that would kind of make sense. Or it's 20%, which is why you get this 40 number suddenly appearing, because it's a nice.
Yeah, I would also like to know the labs and well, obviously the cultivar that's being tested
Hmm.
and the lab that it was tested at. If it was at like Oklahoma, do they have everything set up? All the everything good to go? And what was their rate of success of like actual tests being measured success accurately, I should
And
say.
do it at multiple locations. You really want to have it tested in. What we always did in finance was any numbers. So you're taking end of day prices for all the stocks, like Vodafone. Let's use Vodafone as an example. I mean, Microsoft doesn't really matter, but you've got different data providers that give you the same information, but you want to make sure you've got the right numbers. So you take the same information from 3 or 4. Well, you take it from 3. You always use an uneven number.
At least 3, yeah.
And then whatever the majority match. So if you got 2 numbers and they're not the same, you need the third one as the tiebreaker. And then you go, okay, it matches that one. That's the correct number, and away you go. And therefore, when you're doing the testing, it should go out to 3 to 5 labs. If you send it out to 5 labs, you actually top and tail. So you get rid of the top one, you get rid of the bottom one, and then you look at the 2 in the 3 in the middle. So you always remove the extremities. When it's 100, you get rid of the top 10% and the bottom 10%. And you just look at the chunk in the middle there and you say, okay, that kind of gives me more my average, normal distribution of what I would be looking for.
I like what Nuke Rose says. With that many cannabinoids, is there any room left for terps?
Oh, yeah.
See, man, this is what Jim Bob, or what Rasta Bob was really saying. He's like, well, with all of these, with the breeding and isolating of all of these cannabinoids, we're fucking losing a lot. We're losing a lot, and it's not lasting as much. So we need a bigger punch, just to put it in terms for all of us.
That's why I'm actually trying to advocate that people should really be looking back at those bag seed from. And again, I mean, I saw somebody on the channel the other night were making a comment about, bag seed means herm seed. Modern bag seed. But modern bag seed, and again, if we don't call it herm seed, we call it survival trigger, happy
survival
trigger.
Genetics.
Happy trigger survival gene, easily tripped up survival gene. So that's the thing about that previous stuff. It was all open pollinated. It was, grown in big fields in Mexico or in Colombia or in Africa or in Afghanistan, wherever it was being grown, Morocco. It's heirloom cultivated. So yeah, you've got heirloom seeds. They're land race heirloom seeds that you're dealing with. And that is where it becomes super, super interesting. And those are your primary colors. And once those go, they can never be gotten back again. I mean, it's, once they're gone, you won't find it again. Well, you'll have to go and do a lot of hunting down in that location. But if you
find it, it's like
it's 20 years on from what you had in that bag seed, and that was, so these genetics have moved on. They've adapted and changed since then.
They're a far enough distance, even though it's all related, just like us humans. We're in a way all related. We're all far enough from the gene pool for it to really affect us. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, what would happen if we got some of those old genetics as humans? How would that affect our gene pool?
Well, I think if we were to go back and bring in like Neanderthal man and throw that back, cross.
Can we have like 1%? Something like that?
Do like a back cross with the Neanderthal. You'd find, like the dominant Neanderthal genes would just kick in potentially. I mean, it's
Ruderalis.
And I suspect for that it would be like the physical traits, not necessarily the mental traits, because that's where we kind of diverge off, is in brain
Yeah,
development.
for sure. The
Kind of.
physical traits, though, denser bones.
You wouldn't want to step into the ring with one of those motherfuckers. They'll rip your fucking
Uh,
head off.
it's
Can't add up
proven
two
that
and
we still
two, but
have.
can still.
Yeah, we actually the Neanderthals live on in us. Like we have a percentage of their DNA within us, so we were able to breed with them.
Well, oddly enough, this COVID thing kicking around, what they're showing is people who have Neanderthal DNA still in their genetic makeup are more susceptible to it. It's bad.
Ooh,
Well, that
yeah,
was an
man.
early, but hang on. Early, and how bad it is, who knows? But it was just an
That's
early
true.
kind of thing. It was, and I think that's where this
interesting.
shit starts to get more interesting. Is now that we have the power to process the information quickly, we should be able to sequence or fingerprint people's genetics and see are there common markers in the people who are getting ill, and then sequence those specific bits to understand what they are. This
Yeah.
living
I
in
never thought
machine.
they were looking at it from that aspect. That's crazy. Well, when did you see that? Like a couple months into the shutdown? Did you read it? Where'd you read it? If you don't recall, it's no big deal.
Actually, I had a complete brain fart for a moment there. I'm trying to recall what the fuck we were talking about. I keep doing this.
Neanderthals.
Oh yeah, no, that was it was about 4 months or so into this whole escapade. They were just trying to figure. I think it was like just really trying to understand why some people were being hit harder than others.
Specific thing.
Why some people were being hit harder than others. And you know, it stands up to the UV and vitamin D argument, and especially when you look at, Africa is an incredibly, you can almost understand why the human race originates in Africa, and you look at how resilient Africa is to whatever the fuck you want to throw at it. I mean, it just keeps going. It really does. But the middle of winter, sunshine. It oddly enough, and Africa, the way it's positioned, even in the extreme north and the extreme south, you get good quality sunshine all year round. It's the most southern tip of Africa, which is where I used to live.
Consistency.
At times, it's not that extreme. I mean, it can get, but it's still intense sunshine. I mean, you'll get burnt if you're not careful. And then as you move, and it's a lot of outdoor living. People are out in the sunshine a lot of the time. So you've got this natural vitamin D, you've got UV, which is kind of, maybe Australia's saving grace is the great big fucking ozone hole. It's got all the UV just coming straight through. So when you combine those
coming in, just like, okay, 15 minutes today.
Gone.
We're good.
And so when you combine those factors, I mean, you look at them, they've just been through their winter and they weren't obliterated. There hasn't been carnage. And summer's going to roll through now and it'll just help. But our climates, now our really northern where we've learned to exist, not so good. We have really weak sunshine and, we don't go outside much and shit like that. So I think now is a bit of a scary time, but I don't want to get political on, but I'm just saying, it's interesting to see how how that it's almost selective in saying, let's have a look at who's been fucking shit up lately. It's all of you fuckers. And we're going to leave this middle band of the reason why everything's chilled in the tropics is because it's too hot to do anything.
Yeah.
Ask anybody.
It's too hot to be a dick, man. It's too hot to be a jerk.
Yeah, soon come, it's like, yeah. Whenever. I'll get there eventually.
You do that. Have fun. Yeah, I get that vibe from Jibs and Rasta Bob and Michael Rasta. It's just that, like, why are you stressing?
Now, in Durban, there's different types of timing. If somebody says, when will you be there? And you say, I'll be there just now. Yeah, man, that's between now and like in 5 hours time. Just now is not an immediate thing. If you want me to be there like right now, it's now. Then I'll be there in the next 15, 20 minutes. And it's a real thing. And when I first moved here, first job I had doing some support at the Office for National Statistics, whatever it was, and one of their top guys phoned down and I wanted some IT support, and I said, "Yeah, I'll be there just now." Thinking, "Okay, cool. They understand it's been an hour. I'm in the middle of something else." I said just now. In England, just now means like you'll be here in seconds.
Right quick.
Yeah, 5 minutes later, the guy's phoning and saying, "Where the hell are you?" And I'm like, "Mate, I said I'd be there just now." "Did you mean now?" He's like, "What?" I said, "Well, which one is it? Just now, now. When do you want me to be here?" He goes, "I think I'm meaning now. I'm like, all right, cool. Should have said the first time." He goes, "I've never heard of that before." I went, "Really? That's odd." Yeah, how do you people do stuff around here?
Yeah, it's interesting to hear colloquial quips, just like those little things that change from region to region.
Yeah,
But yeah,
there are some oddities. Man, I wish I could tell the story of what my brother did when we first moved to England, but it was so funny. It was so innocent. I mean, we left South Africa during apartheid, so we'd all been, and I was 14 at the time. My little brother was 8 or 9. And then the youngest two were twins, 8 now. They must have been about 5 or 6, something around that. So you've lived your entire life in South Africa. You've actually never been anywhere outside of South Africa. You don't, and I think this is what's strange, which you've never experienced, is until you've lived under that kind of government propaganda control, you don't quite know what it's like. Okay, and why it sometimes gets really interesting to say, yeah, but when it was different when we were living there, you got to understand it was different times. And when you've lived like that, it within the last 20, 30 years, and you can relate back to it, it is because you knew nothing different. It's really weird. It is incredibly strange how when the government cuts off all foreign influence, every TV program that was a police program or foreign one, every black person was a criminal. Okay, there was not a single cop program that was brought in from overseas where they had a black police officer, and it was crazy to the extent that it goes, and you don't know it's happening to you when you're the general public, especially when you're 14, 8, and 5 years old. You don't know this shit's going on. You don't know that certain phrases are not allowed.
I mean, well, look at current policies, man.
Now,
That's what
back in
they're
the day,
going through.
licorice balls had a different name. Let's put it that way. And when we arrived, and they were always called by the original, I guess, old-timey name, which is politically inaccurate in terms of, if you rearrange some letters and you said negro in terms of the color, yes, that is correct. That is the official terminology to use, but they weren't called it.
Especially if you're Spanish.
And my brother goes waltzing into the sweet shop, sweet little innocent kitty, walks up to the counter and points at the bag and goes, "I'll have a bag of balls, please." The look on this person's face is like, "What the fuck did you just say?" And my brother's like,
This old man comes in.
"Those, please." And I'm like, no, you can't say that. Wait, you can't say that here. So that's going to get you into all sorts of trouble. That was so funny, man. But that, and you get to see how much that has, then goes on to change. But oh yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah. I still hear it from like my parents, and like when I would grow up with my grandparents, like the past shit that just, yeah, I would hear it and I would know it. And there was a point where, just like you're saying, you don't know, and you repeat it, and then everyone's like, "What the fuck did you just say?" Just like, "Oh, but this is said all the time." They're like, "It's said all the time." Like, this is a reoccurrence. This is reoccurring constantly from a day to day. This is a day to day thing. So yeah, there is an innocence, and I try to give people a break. Like that's what I really. with all this fucking bullshit that's going
You've always
on
got to
over
ask
here.
yourself,
And
is
just
it
like,
being done with malice? And if
Yeah.
it's not, all it needs potentially is a little bit of, hey,
it's like,
maybe that's
I'm
not quite
yeah,
appropriate. But
Well,
at
yeah,
the same
I'm not
time,
comfortable. Yeah,
at the
we
same
were
time,
talking about
if it's
comedians the other
humor,
night.
you've got to be, you know, in the world of humor, you have no
Yeah.
right to be offended. I'm sorry. If you're offended,
there's
turn it off,
difference
go
between
away.
humor and just talking, and then
Yeah, just
people, you know,
talking down
There's
or
malice. That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
If it's done
Yeah.
with malice, there's a problem. But if it's done in humor,
that's
and the problem is it's
entertainment.
become too,
Yeah.
even in just general conversation. I would love to be able to, the fact that you can't repeat things that were said 40 years ago, actually not quite 40 years ago, 33 years ago, you know, it's ridiculous. I mean, what the fuck are you going to, it was 33 years ago, you know, like, come on, if you still think that, and these were not
There's a reason we're laughing, because we know it's
attitudes
ridiculous.
that people held. These are just like, I didn't know it was called something else. Right, it goes by a different name over here. I mean, and that's all it was. I mean, that's how innocent it is. It's like, oh, you don't call them that over here. What do you call them? Oh, okay, cool.
Okay.
I didn't
Call 'em that
realize
from
what I
now
was
on.
calling them, because
Yeah.
at no point in South Africa was it, you know, the fact that you called these sweets that, was it a derogatory term for the sweets? You know, it's like, hang on, why would I? That connection is never made.
Like I said, that's why I give people a break. It's just like, whoa, do you want to explain what you're just like? Was that your joke? It's like, okay, that's a joke. I didn't find it that funny, but okay, if you're joking, I'm whatever. I'm not gonna say, oh, foreboding.
That's what
You
Dave
know,
Chappelle does so well, is how he, yeah, comedians are going to be allowed to say, I mean, political correctness in comedy and stuff like that is nuts, to be honest. If you don't like it, don't watch it. It's a simple
Yeah.
thing. We're all grown ups. If you don't like the content, stop watching the content. It's your own
You got
fault if
fucking
you
legs.
keep on watching it and you don't like it. And it's like, no, mate, there's a problem with that, you know. You should never receive complaints, because if you don't like it, stop watching it. Simple.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I feel the same way. And just
the comedians are so again fucking left and right coming in saying the bullshit. You know what I mean? They always have to deal with it somewhere. But they're like, they kind of like, they're used to dealing with it. Like they've said, like, one of my favorite comedians is like, yeah, I don't make fun of anyone. I just have fun with everyone. Just like someone would have fun with me.
I like the one they go, well, they attacked one of every race, so sure. It's a very racist
Equality.
attack. One of every race got attacked, you know. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it'd be great. Again, if everybody just got stoned beforehand, you'd all find it funny. Nobody would be offended.
That should almost be like a requirement before you go into a comedy club. Like, hey, you gotta fucking relax.
But
One
I do,
LSD trip per lifetime.
I mean, I do know how these mistakes get made as well. Have you ever heard of Jim Rose's the Jim Rose Circus? You ever heard of it?
No.
Ooh. The Jim Rose Circus was a
I've heard of the Jerky Boys. They were bad.
So Jim Rose Circus was, oh, let me show you. There we go. Of course, now the name being circus is a little bit of a misnomer in terms of what you're prepared about to see. It's a freak show circus. So you've got this guy who's got coral.
Yeah, I've seen this guy.
Grafts on his skull and whatnot. And again, we're going back a long time. They do some weird shit. They vacuum these fat chicks he puts inside big plastic bag and then vacuum seals it, which again is kind of weird. This is where he pumps blue fluid into his stomach and he regurgitates it green. It's like, oh. But anyway, it's called the Jim Rose Circus, and it gets put on at was it the Royal Playhouse? Let me see. So this is the theater at which Jim Rose Circus comes to town to play it. Now, I know
It's a
what Jim Rose
lovely,
Circus
it's a
is.
lovely place for such.
Exactly. In the name, circus, it's got circus in the name. It's at that
Sideshow.
venue. One expects that it would probably be a family-friendly circus event. So I'm going there because I've been a fan of theirs for ages. In fact, still got a shirt signed by them. We're sitting down, and you start to watch. Now, Durban is a real. It's known as Bombay by the beach. It's the second largest Indian community outside of India live in Durban. And we're sitting there. Next minute, we're starting to watch one or two Indian families, but like the whole family turning up, and we're like,
Oh,
don't think somebody quite knows what they're in for. Somebody didn't look this up. This is before the days of the internet. And oh boy, when it got going, I mean, his opening thing was just steps on stage and just staples a dollar thing to his face, starts having darts thrown at him, and you just watch these families get up and leave. Like, what the
Nope.
hell are we watching? Hands over kids' eyes, like, come on. It was hilarious.
yeah, that's
I could
this was
picture
all
it.
before the internet too, man.
I could
Yeah,
picture
so
it.
you
mistakes were
couldn't look it
happening.
up.
I could definitely picture the families just being like, what the hell is he gonna do?
Yeah, when they go and bring you onto stage, next is the incredible escape artist whose first escape was from the abortion bucket, where he crawled into the pavement and out into the gutter, giving away blowjobs for free so you could just get a warm meal. That's like the intro. And you just got these families going, what the? It's a conservative country. And like, what the hell if we just, at the Royal Playhouse? This is ridiculous.
Oh,
Yeah, you
man.
don't just buy tickets. But yeah, obviously we know that in hindsight, and even if we didn't know that story, we would be like, oh, we would just look it up to see what the fuck is going on because I don't want to watch. I don't want to pay for something I don't want to watch.
Yeah.
Dude, I can't wait for like I guess like the last couple of years when I've really been like clean, doing good, like and stuff. I've been clean for 5 years, going on 6. But like I'm getting into comedy again. I'm like I want to go to comedy shows. I can't wait for like the world to open back up because it's
It
like
won't. It's changed. It'll be different.
you think. I think no, because I think
It'll be in a
It'll
different
open
form.
back up in a different form.
It'll
Yes.
be in a
Okay.
different form.
Granted.
Okay,
Granted.
you're gonna get your experience, but it's not gonna be how it was.
I watched
And
my
you might find
comedian
places
still.
that might do it. Like you'll have to go to another state maybe because they'll be like, okay, yeah, we want to keep this tradition. It'll be a tradition at that point.
Well, if they can move it into the VR space, I mean, I genuinely think it would work. If you
It's
could be good,
hard.
but if you could, but hang on,
It
I mean,
bomb.
I wouldn't be
Bomb's
able
so
to do that.
bad. It's so bad. It's hard to watch. I get you, Pete. I'm right there with you.
but I'm talking
this-
about with okay, so I'm saying it needs to come on in 5 years' time. I mean, okay, let's just have a little like leap of faith. 5 years
Okay,
on,
yeah.
where
It's being worked
when
on.
I go to this theater, okay, it's all 3D rendered, but it's done so well that I feel like I'm in the theater. I have a crowd around me. I can look around. There's audio, people talking. So it immerses you in the full experience. The comedian is standing on stage. They can see all these people in the audience. When you laugh, they hear it. So it's that instant feedback. So it's as good as being physically there again. But
Real time.
it's real time. I mean, I'm talking VR at that level, not VR with shitty avatars that it just doesn't
Not
work.
with 3-second gaps and like
Mm-mm.
like weird fucking like
And we're seeing the
distorted
tech
laughs.
coming for doing it. I mean, NVIDIA releasing AIs now that, machine learning algorithms that fill in stuttering on video for video conferencing. Because they can do the audio pretty well, and the video is like a big chunky. So if you don't have enough to do the video, let's remove a whole bunch of the video frames, and we'll let the machine learning fill in the frames that should be there, and so we use less data. So suddenly we remove the lag factor. It gets quicker and quicker and quicker. I only need every 10th frame, so it's a 10th of the data I have to send across the network. So now it goes much quicker. but it's being able to, I want to be able to turn around and talk to the person next to me in the comedy. You know, when you walk into the virtual comedy theater, you sit down at a table, you talk to the people that are next to you. It'll be that immersive. And that's your
Okay.
holodeck. It's not a holodeck, it's at home. It's a full immersion experience at home. And you put those goggles on, as I said, it probably takes the brain about 5-10 minutes, and then
Would that be
you're
considered
tricked.
augmented reality? Because you have some, well, no,
That'd
because
be
you would
complete
have a
virtual.
place that is built for the virtual experience.
Yeah, it's completely. I mean, I've already done a couple of conference calls with people where they've had designers design proper. And I know it sounds silly, but virtual
Rooms.
office Zoom backgrounds for them, where it's getting to that stage now where it's okay. I need you to create a virtual office for us to do meetings in. I need a virtual meeting room, and it needs to be designed by them. And you know, people are creating this stuff.
Yeah, everyone's doing like all that like
Talk about saving the
online stuff
rainforest.
now.
No more furniture being made. It's all digital
Yeah, no
furniture.
more fucking redwood and all that shit being cut down.
See, the difference with augmented reality is the Microsoft HoloLens is it projects onto what's around you. So now when I'm wearing it, I say that wall, there's a TV this big on that wall, and it's showing me this. And it remembers that it's there. And when I turn my head away, it just stays over there. When I turn
Tracks
back
it.
again, it's still there. Or I can say, follow me around. And as I walk around the place, the screen goes with me wherever I want to go. And that's the overlay on stuff. So I can say, oh, I want these pictures. My house could be, the walls and everything in the house would be plain, but I can have any artwork I want or anything on them.
Yeah.
And anybody else who walks in can choose to have it however they want. It gets a bit weird because you could both be looking at the same, well, different pictures on the same wall.
Yeah, I don't want to know what some people are playing on their stuff in the background. Oh,
It's
you're
gonna
having tea.
be.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be a lot harder for the entertainment industry, like the comedian, like maybe movies, like because the theaters aren't really like everything's being away from theaters now. Everything's getting digitally released on FiOS and whatever, and I guess they're not doing too bad. So like you can see it progressing, but I think like the comedy industry and like the sideshow industry and the circus are going to be the last ones to get to it.
And unfortunately, hey, not everything makes it through these changes. And I know it sounds really cold and callous to say it, and I really do get that. But unfortunately, not everything can survive. And maybe the golden glory days of that are
420
over.
here.
Hey, it's go for it. But you know what I mean? Is you know, maybe those glory days are over, and it's certainly the glory days of, you know, music are over. And musicians don't make anything like they used to. So you know, unless if you're getting into music for the money these days, I think you're doing the wrong thing.
We'll do a little blast of my Mac.
You know, so if it's people will still do comedy, they will still do art, but it really is just for the passion of it. And in fact, I think that should apply to almost anything. You can really, yeah, Noob Grows puts it, adapt or die. You know, if you can't, and it is cruel and it is harsh to say it, and but unfortunately, it's the reality of it all. We can't.
Well, the
live in
pandemic really showed people that they might have to do it. I know a lot of like comedians are doing podcasts now that never were. There a lot of people are like, since the pandemic happened, they're realizing stuff like this might happen again, and
it's gonna happen again. It's
you know what I mean?
It's not mine. And the next one that happens is going to be way harsher. Each one hits harder and harder. Each one is a warning shot across the bow. Sort your shit out, or it's going to be worse. And it's getting to the point now where it's just going to go, look, it's enough warning shots. Next one is
Listen,
full
man,
on.
this is what fucking happens when you don't listen to the goddamn scientists that are telling you, hey, we have these horrible fucking things that can mess up everything globally. And then we're just like, yeah, we'll put that on the back burner. It's cool, it's cool. We're working on other shit.
And trust
That's
me,
what happens. That's what happens.
everything carries on quite happily after we're gone. It's not the end
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
world when we
It's
go.
fine. Everything else is fine. If
The
anything,
world
it's
breathes a sigh of
happier.
relief when we go.
It's like, oh, those fucking ticks are off. Finally.
Hey, I heard a rumor they're talking
Bloodsuckers.
about Mars. Quick! How can we help them? Let's accelerate their plans. Yo, Mars.
Let's push out some more fl- yeah, that'll be a good one. That'll rush him off.
Well, let's start heating the place up.
Yeah. Let's
I-
turn off the AC. Yeah, those ice cubes. We'll melt those ice cubes. They just need some more water. More water. It's filling up those spaces. Less
Yeah.
land.
If you consider how does your body fight an infection, you get a fever. Your
Mhm.
body heats up to try and kill it off. How do bees? Well, I mean that's a stretch of it, but using the bees thing. But bees kill hornets and that by swarming them, and that's how Japanese bees kill those Asian killer hornets, whatever they are. They just swarm it and overheat it, and it dies. And they only have to raise its body temperature
they
by 2
vibrate
degrees.
even more to raise their temperature.
They can
altogether
withstand.
with
They all swarm it, and they lose a
Mm.
few. And it turns out that the bees can survive at 2 degrees more. They're critical. It's only 2 degrees Celsius more that the bees can get to. At which point the hornet can't handle that heat. So they just go, 2 more degrees, all the bees die as well. And they just hold it there for long enough, and hornet's dead. I mean, it's incredible. But you kind of think, well, if you take the Gaia hypothesis that the world is a living organism as a whole and constantly just seeking balance and treating it in that respect, and we're nothing but an infection that is now being technically burnt out, it's heating the place up to try and get rid of the problem. It's like, I'll make it go away if
the problem is we save the assholes too, unfortunately, and that's what this whole process was trying to weed out. Like the ones that are vulnerable to the sicknesses and that are assholes that don't listen to common sense. There you go. But we got to save them. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And the reality, in nature, you shouldn't be saving people with
that aren't contributing.
Dodgy genetics. I hate to put it that way, but if you want to be harshly scientific about, if you were an asthmatic chimp, your genes didn't make it through very long. I mean, your line disappeared pretty quickly. If you had these kind of, this is nature. If you have those kind of disabilities, unfortunately, you don't survive very long. And so slowly they get herded out of
the chimp that uses up more of the resources, more calories, and is just like flopping around because they're too big to get up the fucking tree. You're going to get eaten.
The rest of the troops kind of push you back down the tree and go, mate, you keep eating all the shit.
Like,
you stay down
there. There you go. Yeah, we'll make a trail all the way to the lions for you.
But, it is that, it is that weird thing of like,
you heading out, Smash? Go ahead and shout your stuff out.
I just got to jump off. Yeah, I got to charge
I'm only going to be doing this for maximum maybe another 15 minutes or so. I've got Eagles show in a few hours' time. I'm going to grab some sleep beforehand.
Oh, you're doing Eagles tonight?
Tomorrow morning, yeah. Depending on which way you look at
it. I'll check it out then. I would like to hear that one. That's going to be a good one.
I still need to catch up on Cascadians as well. I'll catch up on yours.
I paused his. It's hard. He goes so long. It's kind of hard to because you try to listen to it, and if you're not throwing headphones in and putting it in your pocket, you're not getting through them while you're working. You know what I mean? It's 5, 6 hours, 7 hours, just like us on Fumies. We got that on. You know what I mean?
That's why I started what I'm doing with the Operation Grow, the weekly Operation Grow ones, is I'm turning them all into audio podcasts as well. So there's not these kind of ones where they can go for 7 hours. So, but no, I'm doing that as a podcast.
Just a little hanging out.
Well,
GMF
where
pop in briefly.
Buds with Buds is officially a podcast now. Fumi went through the channels and he hooked it up for a podcast. So Saturday nights, we do it 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific. Pete usually jumps on.
David. Yeah, that's like nuts. It's like so late. But yeah, I mean, Operation Grow, you can get it on if you search on Spotify. In fact, on Spotify, you'll find the Operation Grow podcast and the playlist for our audio accompaniment, which you'll notice is somewhat skewed.
Are you gonna back up everything? Like all the old videos? You're gonna do all the old seasons?
Well, now that I've got a new script for doing it, because they changed the algorithm slightly, they changed one of the features slightly, I can go back and redo it. But I think most of season 3 is up there as well. In fact, I think there's 13 plus. I've got to do a bit more. There's a bit more than 13 episodes, but there's a few more.
Oh wow, yeah. That's a lot. I've watched a lot of them. I don't know if has it been 13 this last one.
Well, season 3 went, I think it was like 18 plus episodes. Yeah, at least 18 weeks, because it was the flower cycle. It was a whole veg cycle, flowering cycle. So yeah, it was the full growth cycle. So yeah, and you get to see just how long those actually go for.
All right, guys. Well,
I see somebody in chat mentioning the idea of Zoso saying I need to number them. I know, but if you forget, and then it's like, that's why I became like, this is the episode after the last one and before the next one.
No, I see you do it too. You're like, sometimes you get it, but then you're like, some days you're like, yeah, I'm not even trying. Yeah. All right, guys, have a good day.
All right, dude. Catch you later. Cheers.
See you soon.
Hey, GMF, how you doing, buddy? You're on mute. Yeah, those.
Not bad. Sorry about that, guys. I wasn't ready for Friday, and I was up late last night mouse hunting.
No, it's all good. I'm only going for like another 15 minutes or so, then I'm going to jump off, go have a smoke, and then hit the sack. And I've got the alarm already set. Nice. Well, I saw this morning while Eagle was on, I was like, okay, quick, while he's on, let me just hit him up and say, hey, dude, I believe I'm supposed to be on the show with you. When is this happening? Because there is a time difference. You can't, like, 2 hours beforehand message me because I'm fast asleep.
That's something he said. I heard him mention, actually, that he tries his best to make sure it's all timed up. Yeah, he had a guest on. I can't remember their name, but the same thing happened where she got confused with the time set that he had, and vice versa. It's just one of those things that set it up, yeah, but the day before, especially, or like 12 hours before, make sure everything is okay. Because he actually sent me the invite, and he had a missing number on it, so I was trying to join it the whole time, and there's this huge gap in my interview, so I could have gone as long as cascading, but yeah, unfortunately there was a little technical difficulties.
Now, I must say my after working, that was one of the things working on like international finance, was you got to learn like, okay, where are you again? Okay, what time? Okay, let's just make sure that matches up, because that would happen quite often. And then it's American. You go, okay, but where in America?
Yeah.
Are they New York? Oh no, this is from the LA office. Okay, so that's a different time altogether.
Four fucking time zones, man.
Yeah, it's another 8 hours. So okay, remember that one. Like, okay, cool. And trying to organize a meeting with somebody in New Zealand and somebody in New York and somebody in London. You're like, okay, who's doing the early/late shift? Because someone has to. It's the only way this is going to work.
Yeah, it's a whole new world, man. It's a whole new world, and it used to be just instant communication, instant trade, also instant failures going on. Basically, I'm saying, like, you can take the ups and the downs, but that's life, man. But you just gotta take it with it. You gotta go with the flow. But yeah, it's going back to the conversation before. You're talking
I'm glad someone
about
can. What were we talking about?
oh yeah, we were talking about like holodecks
Oh yeah,
and all
yeah,
that
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
before, and then Smash came in, and we were like, it just changed. It's no big deal.
You're telling them about your haptic vest for when we play video games.
Yeah, well, the one that kills you. It's like really well, it doesn't kill you, just bruise you badly. But I like your idea. It's like it's a real world FPS first person shooting games. Yeah, when you die, that's it. You don't get to play the game again. One time. um,
Yeah, the
Well,
live
introduces
action
an-
let's
one.
see who's so keen to run and gun then, motherfuckers.
Yeah,
I picked up a copy of DayZ, which is that kind of survival game sort of thing. Looks interesting.
zombie. No.
Yeah, kind of thrown in there, just but more of a side annoyance than you could keep your eye open for it more than it's an actual thing.
Survival.
Yeah, it's more of
Survival
a survival
game, like life survival, and
more
then
like you got to worry about the other players and you got to worry about the zombies. Let's put it that way.
yeah.
You know, it's more on.
Yeah, man, I think that would actually happen too. I mean, not like I'm not saying zombies exist, but I'm saying if something were to happen, we would be fighting ourselves in tribes again. Like it would become tribal.
Mm,
Uh, Unfortunately, I hope for the best and prepare for the worst.
So this is that hollow. Says HoloLens 2. But this is, you know, where you start to put, you're wearing it and seeing it projected in front of you like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine how much yeah. So this
super
is
cool.
a doctor being trained. So they get to see a virtual. That's
Mm.
great. You know, you don't have to fucking open up a head.
Or you know, you can actually see exactly what's going on, and you've got people doing like design of vehicles and bikes and things, and you can walk around the actual. You can see the design in 3 dimensions in front of you and look at it from every angle.
And you can like take it apart and then put it back together instantly.
Yeah. And doing that, the one that was also cool. So yeah, I mean, you got like I saw one where they were doing it with, I don't know, it was with like Minecraft, but where the table becomes like there, you know, there's the bike, you know, virtually projected next to you. But where the table becomes the game surface and you can walk around it. And, oh yeah, it opens. Augmented reality opens up a lot more possibilities than
That's what I was trying to get at before.
virtual reality.
Yeah, virtual. You can only do so much but with augmented, you're interfacing with it.
You can
Like,
play
Yeah.
Pokemon Go.
It feels immersive.
But this is
it feels more immersive.
yeah. I mean, this is an overlay over the real world.
Yeah.
The thing about the virtual one is it's entirely virtual. I can put you in any situation. Here, I'm just going to augment the one you're in. So, yeah, I mean, this is kind of that idea of, oh, I want to drive something to show me the instructions. Boom, there they are, you know, and I've got them while I'm going.
Like with Google Glasses, that was supposed to be this big augmented reality project, but people were just like, no, you're not gonna have a camera on your fucking face all the time. That's too weird. It might change again. I mean, it's just that it had a camera that could record, and in reality, we just need something that can it observes basically. It's just taking in data to project it back to you in real
I mean,
time.
like a camera.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's a camera.
In fact, if you take the latest like Google Maps navigation does augmented reality navigations, I can take it and hold it up like this, and it shows me on the camera, on the phone, looking through the camera, it shows me the path go down here, and it shows the arrow going behind the house. You know, it actually plots it in correctly in the 3D space that it's supposed to be in. And you know, there we go. We carry this shit around with us already. It's not
Yeah.
long before it becomes
Integrated.
Yeah. And you've
Yeah,
already got. I'm a fan for elective. I think that'll be the next thing is elective limb replacement with cybernetics. You've
Oh,
already
well,
got golfers getting laser
we are
treatment on
already
their eyes.
cyborgs. We're already cyborgs. I mean, what's the
Pacemakers.
pacer? Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
So when
So
was that?
nuclear powered. Do you know that?
Really?
You get pacemakers, which have got small nuclear power. Essentially, it's radioactively driven, and it sits in your chest. Nuclear
Well, it
power
needs
is
to be
incredibly safe.
consistent, so that makes sense.
You don't want
That's
to have to
probably
take it
gonna
out.
last. I wonder how long that lasts. Like 100 years, 200 years?
Yeah, there's some incredible
Because if
tech
you
on
put
those
one in a
things.
child,
It's only the most, it's only the tiniest amount, but it's enough to keep it going.
It'll last about 5 minutes if you put it near a big enough magnet.
Or certain old microwaves. You can tell when it's ready because Grandad stops twitching.
yeah, but basically what I was trying to get at is like we're already there. We're already putting stuff in our bodies to change how we live.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, I'm
obviously
not.
for the better in the medical route, but like you were saying, but what you were mentioning is like full on elective, like replacing limbs, changing, like if you have a bad eye, taking out that eye and replacing it with a new one. That now we're actually walking around with cameras on us.
Yeah. I mean, as I say, golfers already get laser treatment to make them farsighted. Okay, I mean that's a thing that you do. So you're already augmenting your body to improve it to achieve whatever you're trying to do. So why not legs that let you do 100 miles an hour? Or
Yeah, that's
arms
more
that let you do something else.
biological improvements, but when you're literally replacing limbs,
You wear glasses. You've got a
yeah. No, I know this is the beginning.
Yeah.
This is the beginning. That's why I say like we're already fucking cyborgs. We're
So when
already
your contact lens
manipulating our
becomes
bodies.
instead of it being a helmet that you wear to do the augmented reality, it's just your contact lenses, and that's your augmented reality. Your eyeballs are linked in. That's the video feed. You've got instant recall of anything. It's Black Mirror shit. Where you've got instant recall of any conversation because it's all recorded. You have bio memory chips that you can just increase your own capacity with, and in fact that's how you back up your memories is just
Data expansion packs.
So then you go into what was that
Altered carbon, where you can keep downloading your personality and putting it into new
so
new
now you're just jacking your memory cortex and just saying, all right, I've backed that up, and so long as I do it every week, the worst that happens is I lose a week of my life. I'll just go relive it, or whatever the case may happen. And it's like, you might have to explain to me why the fuck you know me and I don't know you. But how, and then again, it comes down to we are nothing but electrical impulses. And so space travel as machines, although it seems so alien to us, but machines can feel if you get beyond the concept of, well, all this feeling is just electrical impulse. So long as it can feel something hitting the hull because an electrical it's no different to you feeling yourself being hit. I mean, it really isn't. What is consciousness? What, it becomes really interesting. And
you get into the whole Ghost in the Shell. Are you familiar with Ghost in the Shell?
I was just about to say, if anyone wants to explore this in depth, go check out the anime Ghost in the Shell. That basically the first series starts off, really
with
just examining that very idea is what makes us human. And, to be honest,
and
they
refer to souls as ghosts. So Ghost in the Shell. And it's like, do we have a soul? Like what? They're constantly changing bodies and consciousness. So what are they?
And then hacking each other's brains.
Yeah. What equates to being death?
Eyes. What is death at that point? And then
that's that altered carbon really makes that the interesting. People electing to not be backed up, and people electing to have their backups destroyed, and things like that. Because at
Some
some
people don't
point,
see a point. Yeah, what's the point? At what, to what end?
to what end am
To
I
what
living
end?
now? You know, but it is interesting. I was at a really, I was going back, a long time. I was at a speech, and the guy said, "Right, who wants to live forever?"
Everyone,
And
you
nobody
know,
puts
just,
their and nobody puts their
oh,
hands up. You know, like, well,
that's fair.
okay. So if you say who wants to live forever, an audience of 200 people, a small portion will put their hand up.
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe one guy.
then you say who wants to die, and nobody puts their hands up. So you go, okay, you don't want to live forever, but you don't want to die either. So it becomes this: I want to live for as long as until I decide I've had enough of it.
That's how I feel as well.
Yeah, and therefore, okay, so at that point,
It could be a couple. It could be a couple decades. Could be a
suicide.
couple centuries.
Yeah,
And
so-
then
so- So it is
you're
suicide.
saying, yeah,
Which again then throws open a whole weird, what is the difference between suicide at 20 and suicide at 400? You know,
mhm.
you still decided I've had enough.
You could still go on. Yeah, exactly.
I
After
don't want to
400
deal with this
with,
shit. Yeah, I mean, 400 could be considered infinite. You know, infinite
yeah,
in the person
exactly.
who's
It's like,
1,000
what?
years
You're
old.
tapping out early. You got a good couple 100,000 to go, man.
I mean,
Like, why you did?
the first person to live to 150 years has been born already. The
Mhm.
first person to live to 200 years old has been born already. It won't be during
Exactly.
our lifetime, but you know, we'll die before, you know, they'll still be alive by the time we die. But it gets quite interesting.
Yeah, but then I mean, that's great if you keep your body in shape and have the medical availability to
But now
go
we get our
on.
elective augmentation, as I said, and
Yeah.
then we get
Yeah,
to
then you kind of have to augment
it's just a
because
head
you're,
in a jar. You know, you've put my brain in now. When it gets to that stage where artificial limbs give me the feedback and the feel, and I can touch things, I can feel, and people who wear limbs where it's not physically connected to them in terms of, you know, they can see it, that it moves to their thoughts, but they don't get any like real feedback from it.
yeah. You
Within
don't
a very
feel the
short
grains on
period
the
of
wood.
time, within a very short period of time, they're actually claiming like, oh, it's almost, it doesn't feel disconnected. It feels 100% connected to me. It's testament to how powerful the brain is. Very quickly, it'll go, that's the new norm, and adjust to it and start to fill in all the shit that it needs to fill in. I mean, most of what you see, it's filling in those blanks for you a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And
So
all those
even your
background
reality isn't reality. Just
blue
us
to me isn't
observing
necessarily
things.
blue to you. I mean, okay, we've both
Exactly.
agreed that it's blue, but it doesn't mean I see it the same way you see it.
And then that's mostly because we're just pointing at an object and we're like, well, it's kind of hard for us to imagine each other's perceptions. So I think that's the next step, like being able to actually live out some people's experiences. And you're like, fuck, wow, Pete had it rough. Damn. You know, you just get 5 minutes of Pete and just like, oh, no, I'm good. I'm good. So, I'm sorry, man. Whatever you did to me, we're good. We're good. Don't worry about it. Like, imagine how much more empathetic we'll be, basically. It's like, we'll be actually able to actually experience other people's, you know, their highest highs and their lowest lows.
I mean, it'd be
Yeah, but
really
would you want
interesting.
to?
Yeah, well,
If this
that's
is a
the whole
choice,
thing.
would you?
Could
Yeah,
we
would you
link
put
up?
yourself
Like,
through
would we
that
want to
pain?
link up? Would we even want that?
I mean,
If that option is available, like,
Could a human handle more than one human lifetime's worth of pain and suffering?
well,
yeah,
that's
that's what I was trying to get at. It's like, I got 5 minutes worth of Pete, and I'm like, yeah, I'm good, dude. I'm good. You win.
I mean,
you win. You win.
You look at all those. I mean, that's the thing about all those vampire movies, and those ones where they talk about, they go, yeah. I mean, and even in The Boys, the season 2 of The Boys, where Stormfront. Okay, that's whatever. Okay, if you haven't watched it, spoiler alert, stop watching it. But where Stormfront, I mean, even though she's like whatever Nazi thing, is saying that she watched her. I mean, she's like the baddie, but having seen her kid grow old and die when she didn't age at all, that's the toughest thing, is living through when nobody else can do it, when you're the only one living on and on and on, and you're just watching that's why they say they stop making relationships with people, because it's just a heartache that's bound to come in 50 years time when you die, or you start to question, why do I not look any older than the day you met me? You know, kind of shit. So if you're just by yourself, it would be an incredibly lonely experience to do that. But when humans, you know, we as a group are now living 400, 1,000 years. So it's the same friends. But now you have to introduce, unless we've occupied and taken over the stars or become one with the machine, so our resource requirements have been reduced, you're going to have to introduce mandatory sterilization that can be turned on and off, which is a great idea for a sci-fi movie, that there's so many people, and the only time, because you can live forever, the only time you're allowed to have a child is when somebody else, because live forever means you won't die of natural causes. But if I hit you with a truck or cut your head off, you're dead. You know, it's still, death is still an option here. But the only way you are allowed to reproduce is when somebody else dies, so that you can fill the gap. You know, it's just one in, one out. It's kind of how it operates.
There was an accident here, so there's,
your numbers come up, you're not allowed to have children, because if you want to, you know, you've applied to the register to have children, somebody's died, you're not allowed to have a child, you know, you get picked, you know, away you go, you can now have a kid.
I'm going to throw you guys a curveball. Anyone who's out there that was around in the 80s and played Dungeons and Dragons, you'll know this, called the Curse of Strahd. The whole storyline basically explores the idea that there's a limited number of souls to go around, and if souls can't exchange, if people can't be born, if people can't die, you basically throw things entirely into what we would consider not life anymore. So just, I mean, these are all old ideas. I think even Percy Bysshe Shelley got back into it. You know, I mean, what was really the story behind Frankenstein? Isn't that essentially what we're talking about?
Yeah, well, making of the monster.
What a brilliant young lady. She wrote that so young.
Yeah.
I've always been impressed with that story. The actual book, not like, I am a book reader, so excuse me for constantly always referring to books. Being that guy. Yeah.
Nerd. Damn it. Well, I tell you what, remind me when I jump on the Eagle Show, I'll go and get those books, and I'll remember what they're called. But if you like reading like really descriptive sci-fi, they are brilliant books. Really, really good. Long. No, I mean, well written, very descriptive. I enjoyed the writing of it. But yeah, they took a while to read. They're big tomes. They're not like 3 in each sort of series. They're like real space opera, I think is what it's actually. I think that's the genre, is actually called space opera, in terms of it's just the scale of the story, not because it's operatic. It's just, it's not a Philip K. Dick short story, let's put it that way. And it's not as deep mentally as Philip K. Dick is, in the sense of the subject matter that Philip K. Dick tackles in his sci-fi is, that man was so ahead of his times. It's incredible, the shit he was imagining. But I tell you what, guys, we're at almost 2 hours in. I'm going to be back in 6 hours. So tune in for more on the Talking Shit with Eagles show, I think is the full expression of that one. Also, don't forget to tune in tomorrow night at 9 in the UK, 4 in New York, 2 p.m. in Denver, 1 in LA, and 7:30 a.m. or 7 a.m., 7:30 a.m. I think it was in wherever Aussie is in Australia, for the Operation Grow show. And of course, tomorrow night as well, I think later after the Operation Grow show, is the Buds and
Brews with Buds.
That's the one.
Buds and Brews with Buds.
Buds and Brews with Buds. So that would be good. Don't forget to follow them. If you're still watching, hit subscribe, like. It'd be great. We're almost there, almost at 1,000. Let's break 1,000 followers. That'd be cool. It'd be quite a little milestone to hit. But yeah, thanks everybody. And if don't see you in the morning in 6 hours or so, we see you in the evening. Have a great one. Stay safe.
Jim Bob just came on.
Yeah, just
the
as we,
link and we could talk to him for 5 minutes
yeah, I can do that.
if you want.
Jump in for the after show, Jim Bob.
You're welcome,
Um,
brother.
I am.
And I'll
going
just throw in, I'm going to pull that cob tomorrow on Operation Grow live so everyone can see it.
Nice,
Nice.
nice, cool.
I mean, I don't even know what it looks like yet, but I can see the glass. But yeah, I'll pop it open tomorrow live with everyone.
That'll be interesting. Get you to sample it as well. All right. Well, that'll be